The MCU has been in a state of disaster, and no matter how many times the Bob Igers and Kevin Feige's promise quality over quantity, they still haven't changed their tune, and now Echo is finally releasing, but instead of allowing this character to stand on her own, the director is attempting to drum up interest by teasing a number of big cameos. I have a few different things that I want to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or via YouTube membership. So, this is a Bounding into Comics article that I wanted to start with. It says, in making what feels like a desperate ploy to get viewers interested in the widely unasked for Disney Plus solo outing, Marvel's Echo director Sydney Freeland has teased that the series will feature a number of big cameo appearances from across the franchise, and instantly this raises so many red flags because, first of all, yes, I do think that when it comes to Echo, not a lot of people were asking for an Echo TV series. Having Echo as like a side character in maybe a different series would be one thing. But I just don't particularly think that Echo is a widely beloved character to the point where she should be getting her own TV show. Now, of course, they are trying to make you feel like there's going to be some big cameos in this, that there might be like a Hulk or a Thor in this. And by teasing big cameos, you virtually backed yourself into a corner because, first of all, they've set themselves up for failure by hyping people up to a level they can't reach, okay? The MCU doesn't have a lot of S-tier characters like Iron Man or OG Cap anymore, so the best we're going to get is most likely maybe Daredevil, because Echo's story has always been intertwined with his before as they were lovers, but they'll probably throw Kate Bishop in there and Kamala Khan into it because Echo is a character that in the comics was part of the new Avengers, and they're clearly setting up an almost all-female Avengers team going forward with Kate, Kamala, and Cassie Lang. But another major issue is that by going into interviews, okay, and talking about the cameos, is the fact that they don't think that she can stand on her own. Obviously, Echo is a character from 1999, so she's not brand new, and she has some fans, which is great, but with the poor quality of these shows, from the writing to the CGI, and in a lot of cases mediocre casting, there's already little reason to be hyped for this. They've heavily marketed it based on the fact that she's deaf and Native American, which would be fine. As I always say, you should go back to your, catalog or create new characters instead of mutilating existing characters for the sake of diversity, but they're marketing this as, hey, it's the deaf Native American character Echo, instead of, hey, it's Echo, who happens to be deaf and Native American, and there is a massive difference there. Highlighting the fact that she's deaf or Native American isn't gonna get people interested in your content, and those need to just be pieces of the overall puzzle, which make Echo who Echo is, but of course, that is not what they are doing here, and we've seen this happen time and time again. Of course, they are so focused on creating stories that they feel are diverse enough, they're not really focusing on the quality over quantity. Like, again, who wanted an Echo TV show? There's really virtually no hype surrounding this, and to top it off, not only is this show magically releasing all of the episodes at once, which is very different from the MCU show formula, but it's also only 5 episodes. To me, this just screams that they have no confidence in her. Of course, though, talking to the outlet with a recollection of her own history in developing the spin-off, Friedland explained, when I first came onto the project and in watching things like Hawkeye and reading the comic books, the thing that was most interesting and fascinating to me about Maya Lopez is the fact that she's kind of a villain, and in the conversation with Marvel, their response was like, hey, let's lean into that, let's explore that, let's see if we can push the envelope, let's go down the rabbit hole and just see where it goes, and that's really what we tried to do. What's great about this is that we don't have these huge cosmic consequences, which I do have to say is pretty nice. judging by the fact that, of course, the MCU and, any kind of cinematic universe like this, they constantly have to raise that bar, and they're not trying to raise the bar here. It's like the Marvels, right? Of course, they're fighting all of these different characters, all of these different species. The Kree are coming after them. You have Dar-Ben, who's this major cosmic villain. We previously had someone like Thanos. It is nice to not have those cosmic levels, but at the same time, they really have to balance here her still feeling extremely important and feeling like this show matters in the, MCU timeline, and I just don't necessarily know if that is going to happen. But yeah, I mean, like I said, they're not going with the weekly releases because they probably know this show's gonna bomb. So instead of enduring criticism over a long period of time, whether it's about, the writing and the producing, the CGI, maybe just about, this character in general, they're figuring it's best to just take the brunt of the criticism at once so people will move on quicker. If they thought this show was, going to do well and going, good, like they originally want you to think, they'd want that increased exposure and they'd want people to talk about it as long as possible, but that is not what they're doing here. And as the article says, Echo, a character that is not extremely well known, needs time to build a fan base. I mean, this article says Echo will drop all of its episodes at once. The binge release model may hurt Echo's reception and prevent it from generating the same level of ongoing buzz as other Marvel shows. I completely agree with this. I do think that it is a little bit odd for them to have a 5-episode series, be dropping it all at once when their model previously has been weekly releases, giving characters time and giving shows time to build up an audience who is going to return every single week. But I do genuinely think it's because they know that this is not going to go as positively as maybe they thought it would when they greenlit it. Of course, there is also the element of them not particularly caring, because when they're greenlighting things like She-Hulk and the Marvels and Echo, they're not just thinking about if it is going to do amazing or go over extremely positively, because they kind of view it as any press is good press, and even if people hate this series, they're still talking about it, which, yes, can help to a certain degree, but at the same time, if you don't, at the end of the day, have a different audience replacing the one that you've pushed away, it's just a massive, massive money sink. Maybe this will come out, and it actually will be pretty decent, right? I haven't seen it yet. I will be watching it. At least it's not that long of a series, but it is instantly not very good that they are not only deviating from the typical MCU release schedule, but they're also attempting to drum up interest by teasing a number of big cameos, because again, I think they've backed themselves into a corner. I do think that there will be people who are going to be underwhelmed, others that just do not believe that there are going to be any good cameos at all, and the best you're probably going to get in this is maybe Kamala, Cassie, or Kate, but only time will tell. This series does release the day that I am putting up this video. I will have some thoughts to share on it, but as of right now, it is looking very, very bad for Marvel's Echo. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.